Plot twist, The Last Airbender is a truly amazingly terrible film. Hi, my name's Julian, and today I'm talking about The Last Airbender, which I've finally seen just yesterday. I had heard a lot about it, of course. It's a widely criticised and lambasted film, but I had to see it for myself. I felt like this week I wanted to watch a film that was received very badly. I just felt like doing that this week, and so on Netflix, that's one of the things I love about Netflix, by the way. You get all these films that you want to see, even if they're bad, but you don't want to pay for them. So Netflix is perfect for that, and they had The Last Airbender, and so I've finally seen it. Full disclaimer, I have not seen the anime. I've only seen maybe one episode, I believe, but that was probably 15 years ago or so. So I'm not really familiar with the series. I only know about the different nations you've got. I knew about that and the sort of structure it's got, but I haven't seen anything. So I thought that's actually a good thing, because I can go into this film as a non-fan and I'll be able to really see the film as it is without all the baggage of did they adapt it correctly and all these things. To talk about the story, I actually researched a bit because I was interested after watching the film. It turns out that they used the first of 3 series that the show has got, and they turned that into the first film. And they were planning, amazingly, to make a trilogy out of it. So I suppose they would have used one series of the show, or season if you're American, one series or season per film, it seems. That's what they were going for, and you can tell immediately that this was a bad idea. I believe Netflix is making a show now out of it, and that's definitely the right approach. I don't think it's good material to put in a film. At least if this is what I'm going by, it does not translate very well. Also, I suppose it seems that M. Night Shyamalan, although I like him, I haven't seen his well, I suppose this is his worst film, but I haven't seen others like After Earth or The Lady in the Water or The Happening. Although that's another film, if it appears on Netflix, I'm definitely going to see. I like some of his films. I love The Sixth Sense, although it's been quite a long time since I've seen it, and I love the trilogy of Unbreakable, Split and Glass. Unbreakable, I actually think is his best film. It's just truly brilliant. Not only the concept, but the film as a whole. And I like the first half of The Village, which has a great horror feeling to it. So I'm not a hater at all. I always go into these films open-minded, but I honestly don't know what he was doing here. And I don't know why it was decided that he could write the script and do everything on his own. It turns out that the original showrunners were not involved in the process, so it's just something I find really hard to justify. Whenever you take an idea, a story, and you adapt it, you have to involve those who first came up with it, because there might be things that just as a viewer of it you don't realise that are intricate and they're only going on in the mind of whoever made it. And because they know of that, they make the show develop in a certain way to make something particular happen that only they know of. So it seems he wrote it pretty much on his own, and the most fascinating thing I saw was a quote. I mean, it was on Wikipedia. I didn't research it further, okay? But still, it's explained that M. Night Shyamalan's films are typically 90 minutes long. And that's how he approached it, because that's what he's familiar with, that's what he's happy with. So he tried to make this into a 90-minute film, which is just incredible. I don't know why you would limit yourself to that, because the story itself, it does have an epic feeling to it, so you could easily go to 2 hours or even over with it. And I don't know if it would have been particularly an improvement for this film, but generally speaking for the story, I definitely think if you want to go the film route, make it longer. So that's how he wrote the film. It's supposed to be 90 minutes, and you can tell it's just so chock full of things that are happening in a really, really bad way. It's so convoluted, so chaotic. It's like he wrote a checklist and he's like, right, we've done this scene, up to the next, we want to include this, and that's what he did. It starts off, you've got these 2 kids, they're siblings, brother and sister, they're out in the ice and they find the last airbender. Aang is his name. and you could tell immediately the chemistry is just off. I've got a brother, and the way these two were interacting with each other, it seemed so weird. It was like, to me, it looked like they were introduced 5 minutes before shooting started, and like, oh, by the way, this is your sibling, because they feel very distant. Speaking of that, the acting in general is not really good in this film. Ang himself, I feel the actor did an okay job at times. His facial expressions are a bit strange, but there are times where he put some emotion into maybe the more sad moments of that. I felt he was trying to go for it. I try not to be too hard on child actors because obviously they're young, they're trying to learn, and I believe he was rather young. So I feel a bit bad for him if he's lumped in, because I thought the brother and sister couple, they were a lot worse and they were older. But the story, getting back to the story, it's all over the place and you've got all these scenes changing and they keep adding a wee title to show you where we're at right now, which is quite pointless because you don't know this world. You haven't even seen a map. If they had shown a small map or something, then okay, it would have been a bit easier to pinpoint. But just putting random names of regions down of a world that you're not familiar with is really stupid. Speaking of other story constructs that do really badly, is there's just so much exposition. Explaining something a bit is fine, but it's done so much in this film. There's just far too much of the telling and not showing going on. And one of the funniest scenes I felt was when it comes to that, you've got Ang and I've forgotten the girl's name, I'm sorry. They're in the water, they're in a wee river, and they're practicing their water bending skills. Ang is trying to learn them. And you can see that he's failing, and they felt it necessary to have her narrate it. So you're watching him failing while she is saying and explaining that he's practicing and failing. It blows my mind. There's another one where she talks about, well, how they met him, and it's funny because in the narration she mentions his name, she mentions him as Ang, then they cut to the scene and the first thing in the scene that happens is she asks him his name. It feels so stupid and off somehow. I mean, she already knows his name. I mean, I know she's narrating later on, but it's just such a disconnect because just 30 seconds before she asks him his name, she mentions his name. So it's a really pointless scene. Quite a few of these instances of the story. So you're jumping from one place to the next and you're checking boxes. The events just keep repeating themselves. They travel from one place to the next, Ang gets captured and then he's somehow freed. And then they travel to the next place, Ang is captured and then he's freed. It keeps going like that. And there's nothing much to it really. You've got a wee side story of you've got these nations, so you've got the elements, you've got air, earth, water and fire. The fire nation is the big baddie. The leader's son, he's exiled, sorry. He's exiled and he tries to find Ang on his own, so he's got his own daddy issues and they try and make him sympathetic, but it just seems like a big bully and like a wee emo kid basically, so he doesn't really do much in the whole thing. Generally the character development is awful. It's awful. You don't really see moments where they develop. It's just like things just happen off screen all the time. They arrive, for instance, the Water Nation's home city, and suddenly the brother, he takes a liking for the ruler's daughter, and it's explained off screen that they become really close and all that. But they're only there for about 3 weeks, I believe it is. They're there for 3 weeks, and in that time he gets very close to her, and they have these scenes afterwards where it's like, no, you can't sacrifice yourself, etc, etc. It feels so hollow because they've only known each other for 3 weeks. You, as a viewer, have seen no development on screen. You've just been presented with the fact they now know each other, they like each other, and you're supposed to feel something about that. So there are so many things story-wise that just are so silly, they don't make sense, too convoluted, really, really underdeveloped. The dialogue itself is completely forgettable. The things they say, sometimes you just have to laugh out loud because they sound so stupid. Then you bring in the actors who are doing a bad job as well, who are not really doing anything to help this situation. So, yeah, the story overall is really bad. As far as other things go, The CGI at times it was okay, but there are some really bad moments in there. The start in particular, where you're in this snowy area, Arctic area, it looked like one big green screen. So all that they're doing, you can tell it's in a studio. It's really bad. Like, why they couldn't have just built a wee practical set or so, I don't understand. It's just so noticeable. The bending itself, all these effects when they're working with the elements, they felt particularly silly to me. I'm not sure if it's different in the anime, but half of the time I had this Indiana Jones moment. You know, the bit where you have this sword fighter and Indiana Jones just shoots him with his gun. It felt the same way here, because they're dancing about for a good 10 seconds until they can finally shoot out air, water, fire, earth, whatever it is. And in that time I thought somebody could just take a bow and arrow and shoot them, or even run up to them and just hit them, because seemingly it's not possible without the dance. So as soon as you interrupt them, I assume it's gone. So that was from a sort of martial perspective, martial arts perspective, that seemed really weird. The combat in that way didn't flow very well. Although there is one bit towards the very end where Aang is sort of getting the hang of the water especially, and where he does show he can do it at an instant without, which is fine, which is great. I mean, that seemed quite good in that scene, that worked very well. But before, like I say, with all this dancing going on, it's like, why do people just watch while they know they're being attacked and somebody's doing a dance, and they're like, okay, I'll wait and see what happens. I'm not sure. In terms of the direction, there were a few odd choices in here as well, which you immediately notice. There's one where you've got Aang and the two siblings talking with each other, and for some reason they decided to zoom in the camera all the way, so you can't even see the whole of their face. It's like cut off here, and it isn't even a dramatic scene, so it just puts you off completely. It's like, why do I need to see them so close up? Couldn't they have just done a shot where you can see all three of them in the shot and just sort of change the direction it's coming from? That would have worked a lot better. So some really strange choices going on here. I don't know what M. Night Shyamalan was playing at. Like I say, I'm a huge fan of his trilogy, and I really like the directing in them. He usually does a good job of putting the camera in a way that really emphasises something that's going on in the scene, but here a lot seemed off. I believe he was just overwhelmed with this whole big budget thing going on, and it wasn't the right fit for it all. So they should have gone for a different direction. So there's not much good to say about this film. I suppose it's a silly, fun film that you could put on in the afternoon, particularly if you've got children. I suppose they will enjoy it. It's very, very colourful. Obviously you've got all these effects going on. Yeah, so you've got a lot of things that kids would definitely enjoy about this. If you want to watch a bad film just for the hell of it, I definitely recommend it. It's not long. It's like I say, he wrote it as a 90-minute film. I believe the total runtime is 1 hour and 45 minutes, so that's not long. Otherwise, it makes me excited and interested to watch his other bad films that I mentioned at the start, just to see what they're like. Making a film is difficult. I don't claim that I would be able to make a good film. And I don't want to attack the director or so, but I think we can all agree that it's a lot of good fun to watch something that's bad. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Have you seen The Last Airbender? Have you seen the series? Can you tell me how bad it is as a person who loves the series? What in addition, maybe things I didn't notice, but what in addition makes it even worse when you're a fan of the series? Or maybe you liked it, then tell me why I'm wrong in the comments down below. Apart from that, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot. I noticed my Parasite film review had particularly many views. It's now the highest viewed video on my channel. Thank you very much for that. That was very exciting to see. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care. Bye.